All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Taylor with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today we're going over print marketing. So we're going to go over how to create a flyer and a listing presentation. If we have time, we'll go over some more examples. Feel free as we go to throw any questions that you have in the chat. I'm going to do my best to watch that and answer questions as we go. I'm also going to put our email address in the chat so that you guys can write it down if you want. Save it somewhere. So if you have questions, you can always email us so that we can answer those or help troubleshoot your system if you think that something's going a little wonky. So first thing we're going to do is log into Command. So agent.kw.com. And once you're here, we're going to first go to our settings and just make sure that our marketing profile is up to date. So under your name in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to go to settings, connect settings, and then marketing profile. And then this is where you can upload your headshot, your team logo. You have a spot for your information here. And I'm just going to apologize now if you guys hear my dog snoring. He is very loud. And then you have a spot for your bio, your contact information. And then you have your brokerage information, so the office that you're working out of. Then you have your compliance section for your legal footer. And social media links. This section is more relevant for your website rather than print material, but since we're here, just going to touch on it. And then make sure to save our updates. Next thing we're going to do is go to designs. So if you're not familiar with the icons on the left-hand side yet, you can click on the KW in the upper left-hand corner, and that will pop out the names of each icon of each section so that you know where to go instead of having to hover over each of them to figure it out. All right, so once you click on designs, this is going to take you to the main dashboard. So any design that you've worked on or clicked on to look at, anything you may have started to customize, that's going to appear here. So this may be blank for those of you that haven't messed around in designs yet. In the upper right-hand corner, we're going to create design. And then it'll give you different options here. We have different classes that go over a little bit of each of these. So today we're just going to focus on print. You can catch any of our past recordings if you're interested in these other designs that you can create on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search Scott Leroy Marketing, you'll find our whole channel with tip videos or any past recordings of classes that you can walk through, go at your own pace. You can even search by topic so you're not just looking at everything because there is a ton. So once you select print, this is going to drop you into the templates of the print designs of different sizes. There's one other section I want to show you guys before we start working on a template, and that is the assets section. This is going to be your frequently used information. So a lot of the information we just updated in your marketing profile. You can also add that here to your assets so that when you're creating designs, everything will be easier than typing everything out or uploading a photo every single time. So if you go to assets, that's going to drop you into colors and fonts. The main Keller Williams color palette should already be loaded in your design for you. So that is when we get back to templates and start actually editing, I will show you where you can find that. But if you're on a team or if you have your own branding where you use a different color palette, you can upload that here. Same thing with fonts. You can look at web fonts, and then there is going to be a ton here if you just keep scrolling that you may want to use, and you just toggle that on. Images, text, and logos are actually the most common section of the assets that are used. So images is where we recommend having your headshot. Text is actually going to be any text box that you don't want to type out that you can easily replace. So I have some with my name, contact numbers, email address. I have a bunch in here as examples, but you can create basically anything you want to be in a text box. You have your name, addresses, contact information, social media links, your website URL. And if there's not already a label here for what you want to add, you can just select other, label it what you want, and then type in the box what you want it to be. And then logos is where we recommend uploading your office logos. So the DBA logo of the office that you're working out of. And then if you have a team logo, you can upload that as well. You hit upload, it'll give you different options of where to browse for that file. Or if you have it saved on your desktop, you can just drag and drop. And I'll have 2 of those here. There you go. There are different file types when it comes to your DBA logo. So if you go to my KW, I'm going to show you guys where you can find these. My KW. There we go. And then in the middle at the very top is a label for marketing. And then that first section within KW Connect should be logos and branding. And once you get to this page, if you scroll down a little bit, you can actually search for your market center based on name or market center number and download the file of all KW International approved logos. So if I hit download here, I'll get a zip file where all of the logos for, let me drag this over so you guys can see it. So you'll have different transparencies, different color schemes. So some of these will have no background, it'll be transparent. Some will have a white background, some will be black and white, some will have color, some will have white text with no background, dark, either black or gray text, it just depends. So you have all different variations when you download the file here so that you can use those depending on what design you're using. And then here you also have generic KW logos of different kinds. So you can also download those to use as well. Oh yes, so sorry. In the chat, someone asked me to go through that one more time. So let's go, that's in My KW, and then marketing, and then logos and branding. All right, so once you have those uploaded, again, these are kind of the frequently used pieces, but then you can also add elements, which are things like shapes or stickers, icons, things like that. You can upload a video here. So if you are sending out either nope, not email, that's a different editor, social designs, you can upload a video to add that quickly. Maybe you have an introduction video that goes over who you are and whatever you want it to say, really. You can add that here if you want to have that easily accessible. And then same thing with PDFs, if you have files that you want to send out as well, where you can just add those quickly. All right, so now that we've updated all of our assets, we're going to go back to templates. And under each of these is going to be a subcategory. Just know that KW is always working on adding more or editing what's there. So don't be surprised if you click on a subcategory and there's no templates yet. Just know that that means KW recently added that category and they're working on getting the templates imported so that you can use them. So for this, let's go over, let's just go with a for sale flyer. All right, it looks like there is a question in the chat. I'm an agent in 2 different states. Do I need to switch to another command? So actually, unless you're on a team in either market center, your command will work for both states. So based on what you're either creating in designs or who you're communicating with, you may want to find a way to label like your contacts as to which state they're living in. And then obviously when you're creating designs, you want your marketing to be compliant based out of where you're working from for that particular listing. So it just kind of depends, but you won't have 2 different command accounts for the state that you're working in from what we've seen. And if you have any questions about that, I'm not sure if I put it in the chat too early, but you can always email us so that we can take a look at your system and look at your specific situation. All righty. So under listings and for sale, you'll see up here, there's also different types of print. So you can have door hangers, and that's going to give you a different layout. You have a flyer, you have standard postcards. And again, every time you click on one of these, that's going to filter to the size requirements of what you're looking for. And then you have bifolds, trifolds, and a different orientation for bifolds. So this is going to be long this direction on 11 by 17, where this is going to be this direction, vertical versus horizontal. All right, so going off of flyers, this is going to just be a standard letter size, so 8.5 by 11. And you can, sometimes if they don't all load at once, you'll be able to scroll down and see more options. But we've reached the end. So here we just want to select whichever design we like. You can also start from blank if you don't like any of these and would rather create it from scratch. But I'm just going to hit use on the template that we want to use. And then I'm going to skip this. It's just letting us know that you can open the menu of pages on the right-hand side. So if this was a document with multiple pages, you'd be able to see all of them here. So once we get to our listing presentation, I'll show you guys what that looks like. And then we just start editing what it is that is different from the template. So let's take an address here. So if you have the information, you can, I know I did that pretty quickly. I like to use the typewriter function right here next to all of the drop-down menus. And that pops open this extra text box so I can make any changes by just typing right into the box. Hit save, and then that changes it in the template, but keeps the formatting. The other option here, since this is specifically about a listing, if you come over to the left-hand side, you'll see different options here. And I'm going to go to KWLS. And I'm going to look for this property specifically. And let's pull up. We recommend looking by the MLS number, because if you look by listing address, it's going to pull up any variation of that street address that you type. So you're going to be able to narrow it down much faster by using the MLS number. And once you have your property, we're going to select it. And then that's going to load all of your photos and all of your listing details. So one more time, instead of just typing directly into the text box, if you're doing updates for a specific property, on the left-hand side, we started at images where the template defaults to, but we went down to KWLS and then searched for the listing by MLS number. Just clicking in the search box, that drops down the options for you to search by. And then depending on where you want the photos, you can hover over it. And I am replacing image, and that keeps the size and the format. So I select where I want the photo to be updated, replace, and then once that finishes loading, let's say I want to reposition it. So I want this photo here, but it's not quite where I want it to sit. If I reposition, I can then, based on the size, move this around to where I want it to be. And then hit done, and then that saves it right there. So we just switched some of the photos. Let's switch this last one. And then we're going to come back up here and make sure that we have the correct information. So rather than typing directly into the text box to edit, you can come over to listing details after finding it in KWLS like we just did. And then you'll be able to find your information. So here we have property address. And again, we're using the replace icon so that fixes it right there. And then I'm just going to adjust this a little bit to be the way I want it. Let's say I click the plus button instead. That's going to create a new text box, not keeping the size, formatting, color, font, any of that. So if you want to, you can just add that in there and then move it to where you want and edit it. Now for this one, you're going to see there's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, this square feet, and the year built. Now, if I select this text box and start coming over here and replacing the template information with the information on this specific property, you'll notice everything is replaced with just the number of bedrooms. So in this case, because there is multiple things we want to update in this section, this is going to be one where we want to manually update that. And you'll see that this shows 2 full bathrooms and 1 half bathroom to equal 3 total bathrooms. So when you're creating these, if you're manually updating it, obviously if it's your listing, you're going to know those details. But if you're using this information, you'll want to double check how you want to advertise that properly. And then square footage, I'm going to save my updates and scroll down because actually it's right there, 2180, because I don't know this off the top of my head. And year built. I'm going to save again. See if I can. I might just be totally skipping over this. Anyway, let's say you don't know that information, which again, you probably do, or you can find it, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna remove that and leave that here in the template. So now we have our property and our stats here updated. We've replaced all of our photos for the listing. And now we're going to come down here and make sure that all of this is updated. So we have currently listed, make sure that that gets updated. You do also have the option to double click and just type right into this box as well. I prefer the typewriter. That's literally just a personal preference, but that is entirely up to you. And then here, you have the option of just editing this with the information. I like to come down here and replace it with the property description. And then move this. And now we have our information to update. So this part, we're going to leave the listing section now. And this is where we're going to go to images. We're going to replace our headshot. You do have the option here to add. So you can drag and drop or select from your computer. Or you have an option here for my assets, which we went over earlier, how to update. So if you come to my assets, that's going to pull the images that you saved in that section. And again, I'm just going to replace. I missed that button. There we go. And then I'm going to zoom in here. So hopefully it's a little easier for you guys to see. And rearrange. All right, so now I click on agent name. Same thing with text over here on the left-hand side. You can come to my assets, find where you have your name and replace. And then you have, again, this text box, just like up top, that has multiple pieces of information. So you can click in here, type right in, or use the typewriter. And then I don't have my app saved, but let's say I did. Hopefully it would be in my assets, so I don't have to copy and paste that every single time. But then you would be able to replace that with your specific app code. And then we also need to replace our DBA logo. So by selecting that in the template, it automatically defaulted to the logo section here on the left. You should have these folders here with generic KW logos that were uploaded for you into the system. It should be in most people's automatically by KW support. But if you go to my assets, that's where all of the logos are going to be that we uploaded. Replace, and then make sure that it fits where I want it to. There is not a spot in this template for a team logo. There would be if we were in the team profile when creating this. If you are on a team, there is now team designs that you can use. So they're going to be very similar. The templates are going to look different, but there will have like an additional spot for a team logo as well as your DBA logo. So it just depends on which profile you're in, which one you'd prefer to use. Since there is not already a logo for the team that I can replace, I'm just going to select my team logo and add it, and then adjust it to where I need it to be. And then let's say, again, this is not a team template. Let's say I want to add my team name for compliance, and I want to duplicate this text box so that my team name matches, but I want it to be a separate box. Over here next to the small trash can under Done is duplicate. So after selecting the box that I want to duplicate, I'm going to click that. And then that's going to create a second text box with the same information. And then I can come in here and add that in. Once you're satisfied with how this looks, I'm going to zoom back out so we see the whole thing. You do have the option to order directly through the WeBrand editor. So if you order print, that's going to open the different options for your order. You select which kind you want, the number of copies. Let's just select a number here. And then it's giving you your estimate here based on the options you're choosing. And then it's going to give you the bleed marks. So if you have anything that is outside the bleed area, you'll be able to see that. For this, it's just part of the images. It doesn't look like we are cutting off any of the words. So I am fine with that. But if you're not, you can always go back in and edit, kind of pull things in. It'll have you download your own PDF to preview and agree to the terms and services. And once that downloads, you'll be able to check out where it will work on finalizing everything and pulling your address to send it to you at the office. It's taking longer than I thought it would. Sorry, guys. I got a little click happy trying to show you the full process. There we go. And then you can go to checkout and enter your information and your card information based on your total. Now, you do not have to order through the WeBrand editor. You can, if you download, it's going to give you the options of different types of downloads. So for printing, you're going to want to do either PDF or PDF for printing. Either option, PDF for printing is going to be a higher quality. And if this was multiple pages, you would be able to select which or all of them, depending on what you're working on, and then download. And it's going to load a file just like it did on the previous screen. So I'm not going to do it again because it can take a while to download. But we have our download file here. So once you do that, you can save this on your desktop. Maybe you have a decent quality printer at home and you want to print this off for cheaper. You can do that. You can use this PDF at the office if you guys have a printer at the office that has good quality for flyers. You could even send this to a different print shop, depending on what they require. If you didn't want to order through the WeBrand editor, but still wanted to order through a print shop for better quality. Once you download the PDF, you can essentially do with it anything you want in regards to how to print it. And then I'm going to change the name of this, and I'm just going to do, since it's property specific, 91st Street. And then I leave these because it tells me for sale. That's the template that I chose, and flyer. So I know what size this design is. Saving that and then hitting done. And that's going to now make this the most recent design in my dashboard. So if I wanted to use the same template for a different listing, I could make a copy. And now I have a copy of this one. I can come in here, change the name, and then change all of the listing information, and my information is already saved. All right, so the next one we're gonna do, we're gonna go back to create a design, again, sticking to print. Continue. And we're gonna go through a listing presentation. And the way that I like to go through these is to set it up as if it's a blank template so that you can use this for any listing that comes your way. So it's already pre-saved with your information. You just have to customize it for the client. So I'm going to kind of show you a little bit of both. So if you hover over any of the templates, it looks like it's trying to filter through. You'll see, well, it might be hard to see. So if you're following along on your screen, you'll see in the left-hand corner of each template that this is saying, again, really hard to read, 9+ pages. So this just tells you that there's multiple pages. Usually these filter through each page so you can kind of see a preview. So I'm not sure what's going on with that and why it's just filtering the same page. But once you select one you want to use, we're just going to hit use again. And that's going to bring us to the editor. I'm going to zoom in again just a little bit. And then this main cover page is here. So just like on the last one, I told you that we'd pop out the menu of pages. So you'll be able to see here on the right-hand side each page, and we'll be able to select those as we go. So I'm going to leave listing presentation template. If I were creating this because I had a listing already, I may delete this text box right here. But for me, this tells me it's my template. You can also change something. So the fill color, so I'm going with the text box fill color, so it would be highlighting the text. I told you guys I'd show you where the color palettes are. So whether it's the fill color or text color, oops, the stroke color, that is the text. So that's going to change. So either of those options, so even if you add a shape, that's going to show here as well. But under library colors, main palette is blank, but that's because I put that in my assets but didn't add any colors to it. It does give you the option to add a palette directly in here, but workspace is going to be just like workspace here. It's the stuff that was preloaded for you by KW. Oops. We're going to go there, and that's going to be the KW color palette that's already loaded for you. Oops. You can also select something totally random if you want. So that's going to be my color to tell me that I need to update this when I have a client that I'm actually using this for. You can also replace any of the photos. So under images, under workspace, you'll have all of these. Again, in each folder, these are images that you are able to utilize from the KWRI library. Once that loads, again, reposition, hit done. And make that look how you want. Page 2, so if you click on that, this is an instructions page intended for the agent. So as you're going through, this is just letting you know like the purpose of why this was put together, telling you to review each page, make sure that you're customizing it for your business, your information, your client's information, because some of it is just filler so that you can customize it. I'm highlighting this. Obviously, you know, we're going through, we're editing this. That's the intended purpose of making a listing presentation. But you don't want to give a listing presentation to your client with this page in it. So page 2 of each of these templates, you're going to want to click on the 3 dots in the right-hand corner on the pages menu on the right-hand side. Again, if you haven't popped that out, that's going to be down here in the bottom corner. And then the 3 dots on the pages that you want, and delete. It's going to ask you one more time, do you want to delete this page? Yes. And then it loads and makes a different page number 2 for you. And then again, I'm changing this to Under template colors, any color that is in the template that's used is going to be here. So I'm changing it to my color of identifying what I want to personalize. Obviously, if you're working with a client, you're making this for them. You can just put in their information rather than changing the color to something that doesn't really go. Or maybe this is your color. It just depends. But you can just update that as you go rather than changing a color to identify, updating it later. There's a question in the chat. Does the undo button work when working on these pages? Yes. So if you hit undo, you'll be able to change that. I don't know. It doesn't let you undo a page delete. You could try to revert. This is too new. There's no saved previous versions. But if you did, you could look at your version history to try to undo that and revert it. But yes, if you do something by accident, you can use the undo button in the top left corner. And then if you somehow want to identify, like maybe you want this to be a photo of their home, you can somehow make that clear that you want to update it. So I like to just change the opacity. To look a little funny so that I know I want to update it. You can also add a filter if you want. But however you want to do that. And then switching out our logos again, you have the generic ones here, but I want to switch it with my assets. Switch that out. Let's say you haven't updated my assets yet, but you are working on this. You'll notice under logos, there is no add section like there is for images or text. So for that, we recommend going to images, add, and then just uploading your logo here. So that is an option as well. And then again, switching all of our information. So images, I'm going to my assets and switching. First name and last name are two different text boxes on this template. So I'm just going to edit this right here. I also want to make sure that we can go through most of the template. We're running out of time. And then there's your text box here with all of your contact information, but it is a template with multiple pieces of information. That's not my KW email. I can type, guys. And then we're going to pretend that's my phone number. Make those edits. And then our information is updated and ready to go. When we have a client, we can just add this. And then we have more information. So this, just like on the last page, was our headshot. So I'm going to replace that, change the size, reposition. Oops, went a little too quickly. Mine looks a little funny since it's a round photo. This is a very blurry version of my photo, so I don't use it. But you just replace that. This can be filler information or it can be personalized. So you'll just want to make sure to identify any of that. And then we start getting into the customization. So since this is going to be a template, I am going to highlight and change the color of most of these. I'm going to change all of this, highlight all of my text. Or if you, again, have this information and you're making this, you would just change that either with KWLS. But if this is a listing presentation, probably not going to be listed in the MLS. So it's going to be more of a manual update. But then this is also, you'll notice, on a specific neighborhood, talking about Barton Hills. So you'll definitely want to make sure that all of this is updated for the neighborhood that your client is living in. So I'm going to basically change that entire page when I have a client to use this for. Next page, again, neighborhood specific, make sure that's changed. And then this is the Barton Hills snapshot. If you come down to KWLS, just because I didn't show you guys this, I want to show you how to replace a snapshot. Instead of doing a listing with KWLS, you can do a snapshot, search for a neighborhood either by name or postal code. And then once that loads, it should load different snapshot versions of the neighborhood that's available for the zip code. So keeping to the template, I'm going to replace. Now, if I'm able to narrow this down more so that I don't have NA for one of my stats, you can change the way you're searching. It just depends. This information is pulled from Nextdoor, so there's not a way to edit the information in these snapshots. So just know that we get that question often. So again, just going through this, changing anything, this is going to be another, I want to change pretty much all of the information on this page. And then this is my app code. So you would want to go ahead and replace that with your text on whatever your code is. Again, I don't think I have mine saved, but replacing that. And then you have a spot for your comparable properties. So pretty much this entire page will need to be updated once you've ran your CMA. If you wanted to put it in this rather than your normal, whatever you're using, there's different sites, different resources that certain offices use. So I don't have information on those, but if you wanted to put it all together in this one listing presentation, you could add the information here. And then just making sure that this is relevant. This is a filler page. But it is nice to kind of have that information. And then you have the process here. So again, just making sure everything is accurate based on your business. Another spot for the app code. And this, I call it filler just because it's generic other than your app code, but it is relevant to a listing presentation because this should be adding value as to ways that their property is going to be advertised and all of those things. But you do have the option, if you don't want to include it, you can just click on the 3 dots and delete that page, just like we did on the second page. And we're just scrolling through. This is still just more going over different ways that we help market properties, social media advertising. Again, more marketing plan. Let's say, I know we're coming up on a page. And then this has more personal information. So again, switching out our headshot. Oops. Delete that. Replace. Name, title, and then your credentials. It's really hard to read, I know. But this is going over, like, you can totally delete all of these text boxes if you don't want to include any of that. And then again, switching out logo. And then you have a section here for stats. We often get questions like, if I'm brand new, how do I put this information in there? We recommend in that case reaching out to your office and seeing if they have stats that you can include about the office. You may need to customize that, and how you word it or advertise, that's going to be dependent on your state. So you definitely want to work with your compliance coordinator at your office or the broker in charge on how to properly advertise that information. Same thing here. Make sure everything is relevant to your market. And then this is a KW credentials. So you can always add your own in here or replace them. Or if you don't want to deal with it, you can just delete the page. And then we get to the portfolio section. Some agents like to have a portfolio of other homes they've done. So this gives you a template here. Let's say you want a bigger portfolio than just 6. You can always duplicate the page. And now in the pages menu, you'll see that you have 2 of these. And then you can work to update that information. Same thing here, page of 3 in this direction rather than 6. Featured listings. So any listings that you currently have, you can add those in there again, or just delete it. I know I'm breezing through this. You can go through this on your own as well. We're going over time right now, so I do apologize. But just making sure that you have information that is accurate and relevant. And then as you get to the end, you have more spots where you want to update your information. Again, you can switch out these images either with these workspace photos that are available. You can also use stock images. Just know that you may need to upgrade and pay for certain photos. So you can filter by free. That should, okay, don't know why it didn't, but you'll see, like, you can use free photos, search by topic, that kind of thing. to replace. And then the last page with more of your contact information, just making sure that's accurate again for your agents. And then I'm going to name this listing presentation template. And if this was already prepared for a client, you could download it and print it off again. You could order it, just know that they would have to ship it to you. So preparing it well in advance so that that gets there. They typically recommend 7 to 10 business days for shipping. So just depends on what it is you're looking for. And then coming in here, you have your listing presentation template. And then you can come in here, make a copy. Once that loads, we'll have copy of. And then we can click. Rename this for the clients that we're editing it for. And then you can come in here and start correcting all of those things based on the client that you're working with. I think I'm going a little too fast. That way you have the template and you just have to customize it for who it is this person is. All right, guys, I know I went through that pretty quickly. I do apologize for that. I wanted to just make sure we could go through the whole thing, make sure I could cover as much as possible while editing those. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. And again, I'm going to post our email address. So if you have any questions that I didn't have time to get to, you can email us so that we can take a look at your specific site or system, I should say, about what's going on. If you're having difficulties or if you have questions, we can help answer those or send any resources that help walk you through it that we may have. Again, thanks guys so much for coming, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.